Okay, let's call this meeting the Haysville Planning Commission to order. The first item of business is a roll call.
Blood.
Here.
Plummer.
Here.
Franken.
Here.
Azir.
Here.
Coleman.
Here.
Atkins.
Here.
Williams.
Here. Next item of business is the approval of minutes of September 8th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 8th, 2022.
A second.
I have a motion and second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Thank you, Deb.
Abstain.
Thank you. Under old business, we have the review of zone change requests from August 25th, AA residential to A residential district, and B2, 3, and 4 family residential. Staff want to present.
Good evening. On September 12th, Haysville City Council reviewed the recommendation for the property located west of South Meridian and south of West Grand Avenue, the large vacant lot south of the bus barn. After discussion, council requested this be sent back and requested the following data. 1, the effect of duplexes on the surrounding property values. 2, crime statistics at duplexes compared to single-family homes. And 3, impact of the development of USD 261 concerning duplexes compared to single-family homes. 1, the effect of duplexes on surrounding property values. Staff reviewed 3 areas of duplexes in town. For comparison, we looked at some of the oldest duplexes located on 2nd Street that were built in 1986. Our largest area of duplexes located on Carlos Street that were built in 2006, and the newest duplexes in the River Forest 2nd Edition that were built in 2017 and 2018. On average, homes near duplexes have seen an increase of 6 to 7% yearly over the last 3 years in appraised value. The homes near the duplexes in the River Forest 2nd Edition, which are covered by the development's HOA, had an average increase in the appraised value of 6.148% yearly and have a $91.25 reappraised value per square foot. We also reviewed homes not located near duplexes, both in the city at large and specifically in the Country Lakes Edition. Homes in the Country Lakes Edition had an average increase in the appraised value of 6.167% yearly and have an $80 appraised value per square foot. This information is listed out in further detail in the attached document. 2, crime statistics of duplexes versus single-family homes. Chief Whitefield gathered local data as well as some overall data from the area. In Haysville, duplexes account for approximately 1.5% of the housing units. In theory, if there are 2 families living on a lot containing duplex, we can say approximately 3% of our citizens live in duplexes. For the reporting year of 2021, our records show that there are 470 offenses reported. Of those, 20 offenses were reported at duplexes. This would account for approximately 4% of the offenses being reported at duplexes. Our record system does not break out the offenses classification, so at this time, we do not have the data to determine what type of crime it was, for example, an assault or vandalism, etc. In considering data from Sedgwick County, not including the city of Wichita, our numbers are in line with the communities in our area. 3, impact on schools of duplexes versus single-family homes. If the developer would convert the planned duplexes to single-family homes, current duplex is 49 lots, which would equal 98 dwelling units. Convert those duplexes areas to all single-family would equal about 66 dwelling units, a difference of 32 dwelling units. The national percentage school districts are to calculate the estimate students is 0.4. The proposed duplex single-family development would be an increase of 79 students. If the development was all single-family, it would be an increase of 66 students, a difference of 13 students. The school superintendent said growth is a good problem to have. The district is currently conducting a facility and demographic study. He said a recent study showed on average, Kansas is expected to see a decline in population by 2030 of 9%. He said that they have reviewed the plat and estimated student enrollment and are confident they can accommodate new students from the development. Nothing has changed in the staff report, and the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have. After the applicant, any members of the public that signed up to speak will be allowed to speak. The applicant will be allowed a chance to address any issues. The commission will then have the opportunity to discuss the requested zone change before giving a recommendation. The planning commission's options are to, 1, consider the same, and after consideration may resubmit its original recommendation given the reasons why. Or 2, submit a new and amended recommendation.
Any questions for staff? Applicant like to speak?
Good evening, Rebecca Melius, PEC 303 South Topeka, representing the applicant here. I just want to thank you all for hearing our case. We're looking forward to developing this piece of ground and working forward to some new beautiful homes in Haysville. So we're here to answer any questions that may come up with the additional information you've been provided. But otherwise, I'll just be here, ready to help. Thank you.
We have one person from the public. Is there anybody else from the public besides Kim Park who would like to speak on this one? Kim Peak, sorry. Kim, are you here? Would you still like to speak? No? Okay. Any discussion? We recommended approval last time, and all these questions are council's questions, not ours. So if anybody has any discussion on it, now would be the time. And I would entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to resubmit the original recommendation based on the new information on the staff report. Because that's about it.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second to resubmit the recommendation for approval. We should do a roll call.
Flood,
Yes.
Plummer,
Yes.
Franken,
Abstain.
Azir,
Abstain.
Coleman,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Next item of business is the review of zone change case request from August 11th. D light commercial with protective overlay 3 to BB 1 and 2 family districts.
On September 12th, Haysville City Council reviewed the recommendations for the zone change on the property located east of South Meridian and south of West Grand Avenue, the vacant lot south of Casey's. Since no rationale was provided, council is requesting that the planning commission review this applicant again and give reason for the denial of the zone change. The one thing that has changed in the staff report is emails and phone calls I have received in opposition to the zone change from the following people. Emails and comments were added to the staff report, and you have at the bench, and were also emailed this afternoon for review. Mark Reich from residing at 246 Peachwood Drive emailed. Jacob Stushik residing in Peachwood Drive, also a resident, emailed. Jennifer Lee residing on Peachwood Drive, also a resident, emailed. Arnie Thompson of 143 Peachwood Drive called. Cole Robinson of 142 Peachwood Drive emailed twice. Ronald McCoy, a Peachwood resident, emailed. Jessica McCoy, a Peachwood resident, also emailed. Michael Grove of 241 Peachwood Drive emailed. Larry E. Settle Jr. of 215 Peachwood Drive emailed. And Arnie Thompson of 143 Peachwood Drive also emailed. I have no further new information regarding this application. If the applicant is here, they can answer any questions you might have. After the applicant, any members of the public that signed up to speak will be allowed to speak. The applicant will be allowed the chance to address any issues. The commission will then have the opportunity to discuss the requested zone change before giving its recommendation. The motion for the recommendation should include rationale used in determining if it is a recommendation of denial. The planning commission's options are: 1, consider the same, and after consideration may resubmit its original recommendation, giving the reasons therefor. 2, submit a new and amended recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I just want to clarify, the one name was Michelle, not Musgrove, not Michael, just so we're clear. It's on your sheet, just so nobody gets confused when they read through them.
Okay. So we have 2 people signed up to speak. Is there more than that here, or just these 2? Again, this is not a public hearing. We've already done that, but if you'd like to speak, we'll give you 3 minutes to do so. Whoever wants to go first.
I'm Dustin Musgrove, 241 Peachwood. Just nothing new from what you got from people that didn't email. We didn't submit this last time. It's just a written petition, basically from the neighborhood people saying that they want to keep it as is.
Have you guys got together to meet since you came last time?
No, we never met.
Okay.
Me going and a couple others going door to door saying, hey, this is what's going on. Because there was only 4, maybe 5 of us that actually got a letter saying what was happening. So we took that on to, there's probably 10 houses that this will affect.
Right.
Only 4 of them got letters. So we just took it upon ourselves to say, hey, this is what's going on, and going from there.
Well, my question was, some of the issues I brought up last time you were here
Right.
were if you're, the difference between looking at the back of a duplex versus looking at the back of a commercial
And
property.
from what I've told to them, I went by and just said, hey, this is what's going on, this is how it's going, and the predominant response was, I would rather look at a business than have multiple houses back there.
Okay,
And
is that, I know you're speaking for more than one person here, but
Yeah.
is that predominantly the feeling of the
Predominantly
neighborhood?
is what we got,
Okay.
yes.
Any other issues that came up since last time you were here, or is it all the same stuff?
It's all the same.
Okay.
It has a little bit of fear factor of it, but we understand that if that's how it grows, but as a community, as Peachwood, we would rather honestly see a business than
Yeah,
houses.
one thing I think we need to explain, and Josh, jump in if I'm wrong, but we're governed by those rules, and as long as it checks all those boxes,
Yeah.
we have to approve.
We
City
understand.
council is not necessarily governed by those same rules, and they can stray outside and make a decision, and that's probably the best place for
Yes, we
that
understand that.
conversation. So,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Mark?
Yes, I'm Mark Reich, 246 Peachwood Drive.
You had an email in here too, right?
Yes, sir. And I've had discussions with a number of my neighbors and discussions with the city council and the mayor. And I don't think the city council or the mayor are asking you to overturn your decision. They're just asking you to provide some backup for the original decision.
Right.
And the neighborhood is hoping that you will deny the petition.
Okay, I have a question for you. If your concerns are about just rental properties and how they're kept and all of that, would putting these into an HOA alleviate any of that?
No.
Can I ask why?
We would rather have somebody that has buy-in, that's gonna own the properties, single family. If we're gonna do something, that's what we want. The reason we're opposed to this is the duplexes on Second Street. The people that live in them, that back up to my house, people don't stay there. They're transient. They're there for 6 months and then there's somebody new, or they're vacant. they're not maintained. One of them burned down over the winter. It was months before that was resolved. And we don't want to see more rental properties in our neighborhood. We want to see properties like our homes. People who own them or take pride in their yards and in their property and respect other people's property too.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we want.
Thank you. Georgie, it might be worth, with that last comment, pulling code enforcement data from adjacent duplexes and the single-family residential in that area to see if there is a discrepancy.
I did see the picture that he sent in, and I was gonna send that over to get looked at.
Well, just historical data from the last few years should tell you
Okay.
one way or the other if it's outside the normal window.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Anybody here to speak for the applicant? Any other discussion then? I think,
I have one thing I want to bring up because it's been brought up more than once about notification. So just so everybody in the crowd understands, notification for zone changes is set by state statute. So we get, when somebody applies for a zone change, we get a notification list from the required area. So that is what, by state statute, we are required to send letters out. It also has to be published in the city newspaper, which is the Centennial Times. So just so everyone knows, it's set by state statute who we send those letters to, if it's in city limits or out of city limits. So just so everybody understands that, it's by state statute who we send those letters to, and then it has to be published in the paper. So I just want to make sure that's set out
so
loud.
inside city limits, that's what, 100 feet,
200.
200 feet?
Outside is 1,000.
Okay.
That's why with the wheatland, someone had brought up that it was 1,000 feet, it was in a field. Well, that's county, the other side is city. So I just want that stated so that everybody understands that.
Like I said, any other discussion? I think what council has asked us, and Georgie, correct me if I'm wrong, we recommended denial, and,
No, we had no definitive recommendation.
well,
We couldn't-
we all did that part pretty poorly, I'll
Yes.
admit. So I'd like to be clearer about that, but also, if denial is what we recommend, we need to provide reasons why, not just denying. So that's what I will task you with doing. And that should all be part of the discussion.
Yes. Part of the original application, which is not presented to us today, but we do have in our emails, was that the applicant had to provide proof of ownership. And I do not believe that they have provided proof of ownership. There is a Kansas secured title that says Nada Ellis is the owner of record. Plus, if you go to the county website, it says that Nada Ellis is the sole owner of the property in question. Now, she is listed only one time in the entire application, and it is with Abdul Arif as the co-applicant. Now, she never signs it, only he signs it, and he signs it as the applicant, so I'm assuming as the owner, and not under agent or additional applicant. Additionally, he signed all the paperwork at the clerk's office for, it just says zoning app fee. There's two different ones, $75 and $250. Other than that, there is nothing from Nada Ellis stating that she wants to change the zoning of her property. So that is one reason we could give for our denial. I have other ideas too, but
Let's hear 'em.
another idea. So in the plat that he gave us, I don't show that fire and EMS can safely enter and exit the property if there was the need for multiple fire trucks to get in there.
Yeah, we're recommending a zone change. This sketch means nothing. I have issues with a lot of this sketch too, but none of this really matters. What we're really looking at is just the zone change itself. And we
Okay.
want that land use on that particular piece of property.
Well, we have multiple units on 1.24 acres. I don't have that in front of me. I don't know how they're gonna get that in there safely.
Again, it doesn't matter at this point. We're thinking about the zone change only. If,
So
if
the
this
property
sketch
would
doesn't
have to
work,
be
he'll have to do it a dozen more times until it does meet every requirement. And fire will look at all of that, staff will look at all of that. I, again, still have concerns with the access points that we show here, but none of that should be what we consider. It's whether that specific land use is what we want on that piece of ground.
So your reasons for denial, if that's, or in favor of, have to be based off those 8 factors.
Right.
So everything you're talking about right now is part of the replatting process, which would be the next step. So, as Tim said, that it has to be based off the zoning, not the platting.
Okay.
My reason for voting against this was that we've got a lot of proposed developments coming in with housing into Haysville, and going back to the Meridian Corridor study, we designated that land as retail, and we need more retail in Haysville. And with just the center, if you divided that property into thirds, and this center third is what if this is about, that's going to destroy the use for retail for either end of that. And I feel like that we have got a good retail base started there, and that property would be vital to continue that retail space.
You're saying retail, but you mean commercial
Commercial,
mixed use?
sorry, commercial.
Mixed use?
I'm thinking retail, but yes, commercial.
That's how it's identified in the Meridian
Yes,
plan, I
yeah.
think, so.
I think this plot is the south end, not the middle.
Yeah, it's the far south end.
Far
Oh,
side.
okay, okay, I read that wrong then.
But this plat you see here is that whole property broken into 3 pieces.
Right. and
So
I thought it
Casey's was sit,
this center there where it was the whole
No.
street. Okay.
more
So
discussion.
it's the 3 vacant, the
It's only
vacant spot
one,
is
it's only
3.
one of those 3,
But the vacant lot is
It's 3
divided
lots.
into thirds.
yes.
With a big drainage well in the north end of it. You know, I kind of agree, it's perfect for commercial, but you take a third of it, that the remaining 2/3, what are you gonna do with that? It's not that big.
Right. What we're asking ourselves at this point, does it meet the requirements?
I know.
And at that point, it's council's decision to decide whether or not ultimately it is approved or not. But based on the factors in front of us, does it meet the requirements?
I guess the only thing I can really then hang my hat on is the fact that it doesn't align with the Meridian Corridor study of 2011. So that's where I'm gonna hang my hat, is on that.
Kind of where I was on the fence about too anyways, is, trying to, I know that we didn't have anything in that spot for a long time, but if we do continue to develop saving spots for businesses, I feel like it's.
And that was the reason for this.
Any discussion from the right side?
I'm on the Meridian Corridor also.
Okay, then are we ready to entertain a motion?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we deny this request based on that it does not align with the Meridian Corridor study of 2011.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second to recommend denial. Let's do a roll call again.
Blood.
Hold on. We're recommending denial.
Correct.
So yes means no.
Correct.
And no
Got that this time.
means yes.
I got that this time.
Sorry.
All right, not wrong.
Yes.
Blood.
Yes.
Plummer,
Yes.
Franken,
Yes.
Azir,
No.
Coleman,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Okay.
So Tim, just, council meeting, next meeting is Tuesday, October 11th,
11th. It's a
So-
Tuesday.
okay? We're good.
Okay. Under new business, we have the final plat of Wheatland Village Edition.
Before you is the final plat for the Wheatland Village Edition. The plat was sent to the utility companies for review. I received the following comments back. Sedgwick County Fire District 1 commented that the final plat reflects the requirements they discussed with PEC and is approved. Cox Cable Company commented that they have attachments on the Evergy pole line along the west side of South Meridian, specifically the pole nearest the Wheatland Drive entrance, and asked if it was a potential conflict or not. I forwarded the email to PEC. Sedgwick County Public Works asked if the drainage plan have been finalized. They stated are no flow arrows on this concept drawing. I forwarded the email to PEC. Haysville Public Works asked if the detention pond they plan to construct is larger than needed and what are the numbers for it. PEC commented that the final drainage report will need 3.5 AC per feet of storage and that they are proposing 5 AC per feet with this pond configuration. Public Works responded they had no other additional comments. Evergy commented and are requesting an additional 10-foot utility easement and marked it on the attached marked plat map. They also included suggested light placement marked in yellow and to please mark any suggested light placements, changes, additions, or removals of the street light placements and to approve by signing in the designated area on the marked plat map and send a signed electronic copy to them for their records. PEC utilized these recommendations to finalize the final plat for Wheatland Village Edition. There have been conversations between the county, city staff, and the applicant regarding drainage. Staff is recommending approval contingent on the final drainage outfall being coordinated with the adjacent property owner and approved by city staff in coordination with the county drainage project. The developer will not be allowed to submit the final plat for city council approval until all parties have agreed to the final drainage plan. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Would you like to speak?
Rebecca Melius, PEC. I'll just offer one point of clarification in the items from the utility companies. The poll that Cox Communications is referencing, at this time, we're not in belief that it's in conflict, but if it is, that's something we'll work through them during the infrastructure design piece of our project and work with them directly. It's a pretty common practice to work on utility adjustments and relocations. So we're tracking that, but are not concerned with that at all. And then the other question from County Public Works on the drainage plan, as Jonathan mentioned, we've had more meetings than I can count right now, working through those coordination efforts. So we are comfortable with the design plan that we have and working on finalizing. I don't know if that's, okay, good, it's not me. Work through finalizing that and the different permits that we'll have to put in place to get that wrapped up. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Any discussion on the plat? If there's no discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the proposed plat as presented.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. Jonathan, let's do roll call again.
Okay.
Sorry, Josh, do we need to clarify with the contingent upon that? Do we need to state that?
As specified by staff, that's what it said, yeah.
So approval contingent on the final drainage outfall being coordinated with adjacent property owner and approved by city staff. So I just want to make sure that was
Yeah.
clear.
Yes.
Do you amend your motion?
I amend my motion to what she said.
Do you agree to that?
Thank you.
I agree with that.
I have an amended motion and second. Jonathan?
Blood,
Yes.
Plummer,
Yes.
Franken,
Abstain?
Azier,
Abstain?
Coleman,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item under new business is consideration of MAPD case CON 2022-36, 1506 East 79th Street, Haysville, Sedgwick County, in our area of influence.
Aaron is from Wichita, Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Department is here to present this information.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me and taking the time to hear the case. As Jonathan said, my name is Erin Friend. I'm with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department. CON 2022-00036 is a request for an event center in the county on property zone RR Rural Residential. The site is located approximately 625 foot west of South Hydraulic Avenue and on the north side of East 79th Street South. The 1.34 acre property is in unincorporated Sedgwick County and within the city of Haysville's urban area of influence and subdivision jurisdiction. Therefore, the MAPC has asked the Haysville Planning Commission to hear this case and make a recommendation to them for their approval or denial of such. Should the conditional use be approved, the applicant plans to rent the facility and grounds for wedding receptions and similar events. Supporting operations concerning food and beverage, including alcohol, are to be provided by unaffiliated vendors provided by the venue's clients. Event centers in the county are permitted by right in the RR Rural Residential District on properties greater than 20 acres in size. So should the size of this property, should it have been larger, it would not have been required to go through this process. But because this is only a 1.34 acre lot, it requires a conditional use per the Unified Zoning Code. Should this be approved, event centers in the county are required to abide by the conditional use regulations outlined in the Unified Zoning Code. The applicant has communicated that they are prepared to comply with these standards should this be approved. However, they are requesting the waiver of the 100-foot setback standard outlined in the conditional use regulations in order to use the existing Quonset hut that is on the site. Currently, it's been used as a residence, but they're wanting to convert that for use as the event venue, and it is not on all sides set 100 foot back from the property line. So while they are prepared to comply with all of the standards, they cannot meet that one and use the existing structure. Because of that, should the MAPC approve this request, the Board of County Commissioners will have to hear the case. Traditionally, CON cases, conditional use cases, can be approved if they are not protested by the MAPC, but because there is a requested exemption to that setback, this will automatically have to go to the OCC for their approval. A site plan provided by the applicant indicates that parking will be provided in the rear of the lot. However, the occupant load has not been determined at this time. If this request is approved, the applicant would be required to provide a revised site plan to the planning department indicating the location and number of parking stalls for approval. While this property is located in the RR Rural Residential District, the area surrounding the site is developed with suburban scale residential, and there's an average density of one dwelling unit per 39,000 square foot. The Orchard Point subdivision, which is directly north of the subject site, is zoned SF20 single family residential and is zoned SF20 single family residential and is developed with ranch style single family residences on lots that are approximately 1 acre, 0.9 to 1 acre in size. To the south, the subject property abuts the East 79th Street South right of way, and which is an unplotted residential neighborhood, and properties in this neighborhood are zoned SF20 and again are developed with single family homes. Property to the east of the site is zoned RR Rural Residential and is developed with a single family home, and property abutting the subject site to the west is also zoned RR Rural Residential and is developed with a single family home. The subject property is in close proximity to the surrounding residential structures when considering that this is a rural residential district. Did measurements, and the nearest residential property, nearest residence, so this is from the lot line to the residence, is approximately 250 feet from where the proposed event facility would operate. Should this request be approved, due to this proximity, the surrounding residential properties may experience an increased level of noise and light pollution when events are held, and that could potentially have a negative impact on the surrounding properties. The conditional use in regard to Sedgwick County's adopted plans is found not to be in conformance with the community investment plan, largely because the land use compatibility guidelines suggest that higher density development, which this would be considered, should be discouraged from locating in areas of lower density development, particularly established low density residential areas such as the subject neighborhood. Upon review of the City of Haysville's plan, I found that the City of Haysville's comprehensive plan indicates that the preferred land use for the subject area be residential, and goals outlined in the comp plan for Haysville include objectives 4 and 5, which recommend practices to protect residential areas from incompatible land uses and to provide a variety of housing choices for current and future populations. Due to the proximity to the surrounding residences and the nonconformance with both the Sedgwick County Comprehensive Plan and the Haysville Comprehensive Plan, MAPD staff is recommending denial of the request to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, and again, asking for your recommendation to them. And with that, or actually I will state, so should MAPC approve the request, staff has recommended conditions to help mitigate the effects of the use on the surrounding properties. I have spoken to the applicant and owner of the property, and they are amenable to meeting these conditions should it be approved, including limits to the hours of operation and maintaining the site and meeting the development standards required by the supplementary use regulations. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
No,
Sorry.
just from us. Anybody have questions?
No.
I can't stand it.
Yeah, you can, this is not the public hearing for this.
Okay.
That's at the county.
All right.
And
I understand.
I've got a card here from James Smith, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Was your name Aaron?
My name?
Yeah.
Yes, Erin.
Thank you, Aaron, you can sit down, we're done. This is not the public hearing, you should go to that, but if you'd like to speak, I'd give you a few minutes if you have something you want to say.
Sure.
Sorry, I do want to note that the applicant is here.
Okay,
Speak to
well,
the case.
then, yeah, if the applicant is here and would like to speak, let's do that first.
Hello, my name is Tanya Tillman, and we are a family-owned, locally owned business. Brookstill Properties is our business name, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk with all of you and the neighbors included. We really feel like our heart and also our hard work is invested in this project and in this property. Our goal and our plan is to make this a family-friendly venue and event center where happy occasions could be celebrated, such as purpose towards weddings and also reunions and anniversaries also. There will never be rock concerts or wild parties. That is not the clientele that we are catering to at all. And on our business model, we have contracts, we have expectations and rules that will make it more enjoyable for the people that actually are at the events and also for no disturbance to the neighbors. What we want is our venue to be a real asset to the community, not a stain to the community like the previous owners left it. We know it's in quite disarray as they have left it in a really bad condition. We've also heard from ones that the previous owners obviously didn't take good care of the property And in fact, the opposite of that. They didn't respect the neighbors and they didn't respect the land itself. The previous owners, as we understand, used this property illegally to run some kind of car shop or dealership or something out of it, and it's really bad. We're trying to do it the right way by getting all of the permits, getting all of the rules followed that we should in order to make this a good place and not a bad place to the community. So we want to make it a legal business and proper and good. We know there are conditions, as Aaron brought out, that the staff at the MAPC has set forth. And to make this a successful event center, we definitely are willing to follow these, and we intend to follow and put in all of their suggestions that they say we should do. Within just a few weeks, just to give you what's going on in the future, we're gonna have professional roofers there to mend, seal, and to color the roof, which is basically the whole thing except the ends. With this happening, they're gonna put in new windows, and with this happening, you'll already see improvements to the property. The yard will be completely cleaned up. That's an ongoing process that will take a bit of time, but it will include all the tires that possibly have mosquitoes that might bother the neighbors. There might be mice. I mean, things that really, it's in bad condition, needs to be cleaned up. And problems that come from that situation will be eradicated. As some of you may know, there's a lot of mold inside the property, so under the direction of professional remediators, we're presently having it all up removed and actually remediated at the same time so we can make it beautiful inside as well as outside. And we want it to really be pleasing to the surroundings that it's in. We'll be finishing out fencing on the west front side of the property to have all three sides of the property fenced between us and the neighbors, so that we kind of get a barrier there. That's the only fence left that there isn't a fence there. So we really want this property, this venue, to be an asset to the community and something that they appreciate and enjoy looking at. Again, all that the MAPC and Haysville recommends, we're very willing to do to make this a great place for families to come together. And we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, please keep it brief.
Sure. My name is James. I represent the local surrounding residents. In fact, if everybody can raise their hand that is here too. We are here to oppose this, and I know that this may not be the venue to do that. However, we want to go on record to say that we are opposed to this. The reason that we have moved into our current dwellings is because of the quiet. It is really quiet out there. And if noise levels can be mitigated down to 0, which isn't really possible, we can't approve this. Everything negative that goes along with an establishment like this is what we're concerned with. Excess traffic, things like what happens to our property value, resale value. If I'm a young individual, which I'm not, but if I was in the market to buy a home and I saw a party center, basically is what it's going to be. If I saw a party center next door to a house that I really like, I'm going to say I don't even want to look at it because I don't want to deal with the increased noise, the increased traffic. What happens if a child comes over to my property and gets injured? Am I liable for any medical expenses? I did look, there is an attractive nuisance, I believe, doctrine in Kansas, meaning that I am not protected. If a child comes onto my property and gets injured, I can be sued, which I'm not really looking forward to. What will happen to my my homeowner's insurance? Is it going to go up to mitigate this? Basically, all of us here, we all share the same concerns. The big one, obviously, is the noise and the traffic. The other things, that's just going to come with the first two. So that's all I have to say. I think that's what we would all say if we all stood up here and
Thank
spoke.
you for representing the group. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Discussion? guess I'll start. It seems pretty straightforward. The appropriate area for this is on a tract 20 acres or more, and this is not nowhere close to that. And having an event center in the middle of a residential neighborhood, even if it is rural residential, seems inappropriate. So I would entertain a motion if somebody has one
I would make a motion to deny,
to recommend denial.
yeah, recommend denial for the MABC.
I second that.
The motion is second to recommend denial. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everybody. We're going to move on to our
Okay,
park
Tim,
plan and bike plan. You're welcome to stick around for that, but if not, then
Tim, real quick. Aaron, when is your public hearing for everybody here, just to make sure it's,
There will be 2 opportunities for the
step up, sorry.
For everyone that's here that would like to speak, there will be 2 opportunities for public hearing. The formal public hearing will be at the MAPC meeting, which is in the Ronald Reagan Building downtown, the city of Wichita, on October 6th at 1:30. There will also be a meeting on October 3rd in the evening at the Haysville Library, which I know that's a little bit closer for some of you folks in town. So there will be 2 opportunities, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak either of those times.
Are you correct on your dates? We've got a
Yes.
letter saying October 6th was changed to the 4th. And we've also got information saying that 3 days prior to that, we have to have everything submitted for visual content for the MAPC. So is your dates accurate?
The dates are accurate. We did have to move the date of the meeting,
Okay.
which is why we had to send out that follow-up letter, but not for the MAPC meeting, specifically
Okay.
for the Citizen Advisory Board meeting, which is a meeting with the Board of County Commission member and then citizens that want to speak on the issue.
Okay.
In regard to getting comments to myself, if I could have them emailed, if you want to provide written comment, which I think I spoke to maybe someone in this group, but to planning@wichita.gov. I just need written comment by 10 a.m. the day preceding the meeting, so that would be the 5th.
Aaron, phone number for your office for them to contact you?
I do not have my phone number memorized, but I can,
it's on the website probably.
yeah, it's on the
Website,
website.
look up.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Moving on, we have the review of the Haysville Parks Master Plan.
You have in front of you the yearly review of the Haysville Parks Master Plan. This has been reviewed by the Park Board and the Historic Committee and is before you to review.
You want to cover changes?
I can kind of walk through this. We went through this a little bit more extensive this year. COVID has kind of, hasn't been reviewed as much in the last 2 years. So, went through, cleaned some things up. Went through, completed and planned improvements for parks. I'm trying to think if there's, pictures were updated. The parks were just recently mulch or wood fiber was added to them, so we redid some pictures. Plagens Carpenter, I think we added in there because the canopies were put in, updated some information within that. Historic Park, there was one name that was added into the perennial gardens for a tag there. Vickers, I think we made some minor changes just throughout that. Dorner Park, of course, there's a lot of improvements that have been completed there, went through that, updated those pictures for what is to date there now. Country Lakes, we just recently started with that park. Since that addition that 3rd phase is now being finally worked on and houses are out by that area, that park is now being developed. The first step that Park Board has looked at is putting in playground equipment. We're gonna be working on a sprinkler system and other items that will go there. For what we started with right now was just a playground as the base. So that was added in there. Updated some of the USD 261 facilities, kind of shortened that actually, because there's a lot more information that really didn't need to be in there. Updated bike racks where they are, went through proposed locations for other ones, fixed at stations, and then future parkland needs, so.
Thank you. Any discussion?
The main thing I had was the future parkland needs. Kind of the process for identifying that. It looks like skimming through this briefly. It used to be based on kind of population. But how do you guys do it now?
So usually, when we have a new development, there's usually a reserve designated in that development for park or green space, something to do with that. And we're going to take Wheatland, for example, here. There's a couple of different reserves. There's Reserve D, Reserve C. So those are set by the developer. It's set in the plat. There's usually a notation on here that's going to be future parkland or green space, either taken care of by the HOA or given to the city. So with each development, we usually look at it for how much space we want to look at for green space or a park area.
So it seems like a lot of the parks we have are tied to the bike path or sidewalks.
For connectivity, yes.
Yeah, so is that kind of the requirement within neighborhoods that it's can be connected somehow?
Yeah, because along, I believe it's a country, just taking that one for example, I believe along Country Lakes, there's an easement on the north side that's set for possible hiking bike path addition to go out over there that would go into that neighborhood and then into future. That is the basis for transportation and hike and bike path to be connectivity. Recently we are going along Meridian. Eventually, hopefully we'll connect all the way along that south side and you'll have that full loop, which is addressed more in the next plan.
Yeah. So you need a recommendation from us?
Just if there's anything that you guys see that stands out for changes or something, went over this pretty extensive this year, so this is just kind of what they've set out. I know there's been a lot of comments brought up about for Country Lakes and what's the plans for there. That, like I said, that third phase just finally has gotten completed in this last year. They're looking at what else we would put there. It started with a playground because that's what most people want to start with, and then we'll go from there. It's only so many funds each year. So.
Any other discussion about the park plan?
I just have one question about the plugins. It says make provisions for the 63rd Street Bike Pedestrian Project. Is that something?
So when we get to this one, I can show you where that's at.
Okay.
That one is set to go in, I think, by this next year, and it goes up to 63rd and over down like right before Mabel, and I can show you on the bike plan where that's at. So that's been one that we've been working on for several years with the paving of, I just forgot that addition's name, the streets of
Sunset Fields.
Sunset Fields. That's kind of helped move that along with those streets being done, and now we'll get that connectivity up there where it's for.
Okay. We'll move on to the review of the bike plan.
Before you is
Can
the,
we make a motion for this one?
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Then let's go back to the park plan. I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to approve as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Now we'll go on to the bike ped plan.
before you is the yearly review of the Haysville Bike Plan. This has been reviewed by Park Board and is now before you to review.
So with this one, I think back in 2016, 2017, we had an outside company do a study for the hike and bike path. We had that plan, and then we had our bike plan. This is kind of the combination of that information with plus what we wanted to do. So you can see we have everything in GIS now. That first page there has our updated, the blue is all our current hike and bike path. The red is outline of the city. So gone through evaluations, connectivity, the gap analysis that came out of that study from that year. It goes through recreation and greenway and education, and then it shows a priority list for projects. There's East Meridian Avenue, and that's one that's been brought up with the developments over here that we're talking about with Wheatland and Peachwood. That there is sidewalk on the west side of Meridian, but there's not sidewalk on the east side of Meridian from like Casey's down to Chelsea. So that's the first one of the top priorities. Second one was Ward's Fourth, which is going up from along Seneca up to 63rd over to Plagens Carpenter. It'll go right there for now. City is working on that. Recently at the last council meeting, there was approval for development from the engineers for the railroad because of getting over that railroad track crossing right there.
So it's not an easy part of it either.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's kind of been the holdup for that one. So South Main is from like right south of the historic district down to the new Timber Creek area, connecting that. Broadway, of course, there's no hike and bike path along Broadway, so that's just another one of safety and everything for people, pedestrians walking along there. East 63rd would be from then Mabel by Plagens Carpenter, clear over to Broadway. Once again, connecting, making the big loop is the kind of the long-term goal. South Meridian Avenue would then be back on the west side over Country Lakes south of there, down to 79th, and then over to the west to Cattail, where that's that addition way south over there. It just has the one street into it.
And
then
eventually back on to Dorner Park someday.
Yeah, that one's a little bit further,
And there's another railroad crossing.
Yep, and then East Grand would be getting us out towards, from basically Broadway clear over to Hydraulic. So, well, we go to I-35, I apologize, it would take it all the way over there. It would go from Broadway over to Hydraulic, but currently we go to the interstate, so it would be on the other side. So that's kind of the priority list and major projects that we have, and kind of lays them out. Afterwards, it goes through each one of those. Goes through regional connectivity, which is always kind of a priority of connecting with other towns for transportation, and then ratings of sidewalks. Greenway trails is we back up to the
Big
flood.
ditch.
Yeah, the big ditch. Eventually, we hope to have some trails through there. That's a little bit more, there's some challenges with that because of the floodway and everything, so that's one thing from the study that did come out that we would like to be able to eventually utilize those. Those are more a little bit long-term, so. I think that's kind of the gist of it, unless somebody has a question.
Any questions? Any discussion at all?
But one of my favorite things about Haysville is the nice bike path, so,
And most of them are lit pretty well.
yeah.
What's that?
Most of them are lit pretty well. If there's no discussion, then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the Haysville Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan as presented.
One second.
Thank you, Nicole. Motion and second to approve as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No correspondence. Are there any committee updates? Even though it's not on the agenda, I'm going to ask for it.
I have committee updates.
Thanks, Deb.
The Historic Committee is getting ready this Saturday to have their gathering at the gazebo at 6 to 8:30 at the gazebo in the Historic District across from the library. There'll be music and food is provided by the Masonic Lodge. Then Haysville Pride is taking orders for their beer rocks again. The pickup date will be October 15th at the Haysville Middle School. They need to be prepaid, and they're $35 a dozen. And you can contact Pride members for that. Trick or Treat on Main Street will be October 31st from 4 to 6 p.m., and it begins at the Vickers Station. And then the Village Christmas, put on by the Historic District and the city, is December 3rd, and it is at the W.W. Hayes Historic District, east of the railroad tracks, south of Grand, by the library.
Thank you, Deb. No off agenda? Item 9.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, everybody.